All right. Now, look, I spent today in Sydney. I've never seen Sydney as smoky as it was. I reckon the visibility at the airport would have been less than 150 metres. It was quite extraordinary. I don't even know how the planes were getting out, to be frank. And in fact, I understand there are some businesses that are actually promoting themselves in Sydney at the moment as, you know, we are a smoke-free environment, because wherever you went, and I remember, you know, as I was lining up to go through the security, you could smell the smoke. The smoke was extraordinary. If we go to the front of the Sydney Morning Herald, there it is. Sydney chokes as state burns. As Sydney held its breath yesterday, New South Wales burned, and the bushfire crisis again tightened its grip on the state for the foreseeable future. At the peak of the crisis, 7 fires were classified as emergency warning level, from Tenterfield in the north of the state to the Shellhaven. Michael, it really is a difficult and challenging time at the moment for firefighters.
Yeah, and we've seen a few firefighters injured as well, and hopefully there'll be no more of that, but they are battling really tough conditions from what I can understand. You know, it's hot and windy, and the forecasts are continuing to be that way. So, yeah, look, it's really tough, and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, said that this was going to be something that we would see a lot more of over the coming months, and that was pre-summer. This is summer, and only the beginning of it. And we're still seeing these fires are just continued for weeks. I think the last couple of weeks in Sydney, that they've been faced with these fire and smog-like conditions. And there's a really great photograph on the front page of The Age there of all those people coming off the trains with masks over their faces, something you're more used to seeing in Beijing or something like that. So really tough conditions for firefighters, and I think, again, this is probably not the last time we're going to see these scenes this summer.
Yeah, well, as Michael said, firefighters have been injured, and there are reports of properties lost as dangerous fire conditions continue to plague New South Wales. On Thursday, as many as 7 emergency warnings were in place for fires up and down the east coast. Rachel Reyes reports.
Temperatures across parts of New South Wales were 10 degrees above average on Thursday. Humidity was low, and as winds increased, fires flared up. As forecast, the Greater Sydney and Hunter were the most affected, but major blazes also burnt in the north and the south of the state. On the south coast, there are reports of homes being lost to the Currowan fire near Batemans Bay. Over 2,000 personnel attacked more than 100 blazes burning across the state. 3 firefighters suffered minor burns while battling the fire front at Greenwattle Creek in the Blue Mountains National Park, southwest of Sydney. Hazardous air quality also returned as thick smoke rolled over Sydney. The haze is forecast to ease this weekend. Challenging fire conditions will continue through eastern and northern New South Wales on Friday, with authorities issuing 10 total fire bans. In New South Wales this bushfire season, there's been 2 million hectares of land burnt, more than 670 homes destroyed, and tragically 6 lives lost. Rachel Reyes, Sky News.
All right, now as we head to the front of the Daily Telegraph, of course, the preeminent masthead in Sydney, in the New South Wales capital, a terrific yarn, an absolute cracker. He's a hero to us all. PM's praise for cancer-stricken firefighter Ryan, a hero firefighter who saved homes on the mid-north coast a day after a devastating stage 4 metastatic cancer diagnosis, has been praised by Scott Morrison as showing bravery that defines Australia. The Prime Minister urged Australians to rally behind 42-year-old father of 2 Ryan Channels, who is a volunteer with the War Hope Rural Fire Service Brigade on the state's mid-north coast. A day after being diagnosed with melanoma, Mr Channels saved homes in a blaze in horror fire conditions last month. And as you can see, that is an incredibly powerful photograph on the front page of the telly. Nathan Edwards, one of the best in the business, has taken that. And Dan Petrie, that is the spirit of Australia, that front page.
Ryan Channels is my Australian of the year, probably the decade. The photo says it all, an incredible photo on the front of the telly. And I just, the one thing it does absolutely typify Australia at its best now. Wauchope really is on that mid-north north coast of New South Wales, is ground zero for these fires. It's where really so much of how dry it is there. So I can't get enough of that photo. I can't get enough of that story. Tip of the hat to the telly. Terrific reporting, terrific photo, and I wish that young man and his family every good grace in that battle ahead against melanoma. Indeed, that's a fantastic tribute, Dan. And if we head to the front of the Oz, just staying with the fire theme just for a few more seconds, the headline, of course, is Get Lean, PM Wheels the Axe, and we'll get to that. But you can see photo there of golfers. The headline is Choke. World's golfers smoked out at Australian Open, and as I said on my way to the airport today, I went past the Australian where the Australian Open is being held, and I've got to say, visibility was incredibly, incredibly poor. All right.